Hi, hey everyone. How's it going?
Bonjour Heather.
Hey, bonjour, Jan. Hey, we're
Bonjour.
here today. This is like, so exciting. We've had a whole week of excitement at MATLAB Expo. We've been giving talks and demonstrations on using MATLAB and Python. Maybe you've even seen us before here on the channel, talking about this, answering your questions. So we're happy to come back and do it again and really just kind of dive in on some of the questions that we got over the past couple of days, especially at MATLAB Expo. Um, Also, please feel free to put any of your questions in the chat. Today we're covering, we're gonna do, this is a two-part series, right? So today we're gonna be using MATLAB a lot and we're calling Python from MATLAB. And tomorrow we're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna be using Python a bunch and we're gonna be calling our MATLAB stuff from Python. So we'll be able to kind of focus ourselves in that way. I guess just in terms of introductions, kind of, we can talk a little bit. I'm Heather, product manager, product marketing manager for MATLAB, and especially these days do a lot of stuff on Python and MATLAB. So in my former life, I have my PhD in physics and did machine learning and used MATLAB, Python, C, like whatever I needed that day. Jan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I took a bunch of photos here again because I quite like them. So yeah, my name is Yann. I'm French, as you can see, coming live from the red carpet.
Yeah,
And prior to
famous.
that, yep. So Heather and I, we have a lot of fun around this subject about MATLAB and Python. I'm a big fan of open source. Before joining the MATLAB product team, we are in the same team with Heather, the MATLAB product team. And before joining MathWorks and the team, I worked on in the field of open source scientific computing on a project called Scilab. And so I've done that for about 6 years. And well, it's it's a real pleasure now to be with Heather and with the MATLAB team to work on those subjects. So I specialize very much on all of those interfaces with open source and Python in particular. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. We're the open source fans here.
Yep. I took this slide in the first place to show our audience that we're going to be building this application and relying on this one example that you guys can follow along with the code that you can find on Heather's GitHub. So feel free to, I think I'm going to find a way to share that
Sure.
as
In
a
the chat, maybe.
Yep, MATLAB with Python. So you can, just click and git clone it. If you know what it means, you take the the URL, and otherwise you can just download the zip and unzip it, and then this way you can follow along with the code. And well, we did something also yesterday. What was it? Yesterday, 2 days ago, at the
Dangerous.
expo. Dangerous. Don't do that.
Yes, I love it.
What we're gonna do is that you can just look at this API key. I think we'll find a way to share it in the chat, and there'll be a way also for you to follow along with the code, because there's a need for registration to this OpenWeatherMap web service. So this is a demo. We will get some data from this web service with Python, and then we'll post-process it in MATLAB, build a model, and so on. So yeah, that's it. But again, like as I said, don't do it at home. That's not.
You're not supposed to share your API keys. Don't put it on GitHub. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
We're just doing it for you, for the spirit of togetherness and happiness, and we can do that. And we won't.
Exactly.
I was just going to mention too, we won't be going through the entire demo in case you've seen other parts of it before, but we're going to be using it for a lot of what we're going to be talking about. So it's good to kind of set the stage and again, share the API key so you can follow along.
Exactly. So you listed a bunch of stuff, Heather, that you will be presenting today. I'll be interviewing you, so there'll be the other way around, not like the red carpet. That I'll be the one, being the reporter, and you will be the star. You listed out a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
requirements, setup, path, basics, data management, and so on. So this is our agenda for today. And what I suggest, so it's gonna go in 2 different steps, and obviously, as you said, like tomorrow with the part 2 of this top question, we'll be covering more of the calling MATLAB from Python, the other way around, and also deployment. So today we'll be focusing on the first 3 steps. This is the demo that we use. It goes into all the way to deploying a web service that, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, where you have basically just location where you're asking for the air quality in a city like Boston, and all of the rest of this system, it's gonna go and grab the data from this database on the open weather map, and it's going to make the compute on the MATLAB production server. So a bunch of tips. Heather, I suggest this list of questions, and feel free to grab the screen to share a bunch of tips with our audience today. What I would like for you to answer, maybe it's this first tricky thing, is how we can use the PyEnv and how we can basically just link MATLAB with Python. Could you take a few moments to answer this first set of questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll leave this up for just a second while I'm talking, or while I'm thinking. But so just to even start before that, I will share my screen now. It's going to be easier because I can call the documentation. Or look at the documentation. Don't ask me why I didn't just do it from MATLAB. But I wanted to show that this all is in the external language interfaces. And so this is all the different languages that one might call. We'll show again the other way around tomorrow. But this is, where you're going to find all of the, troubleshooting information that you need, all of the list of functions or data types and things like that. So definitely something to bookmark for sure. There is, what is it? Of course, I just blew right by it. Here it is, I think. So there's a list of the import or the versions. So this is a question that we get all the time, like, hey, if I'm using this version or that version, what versions of MATLAB will it work with? There's a PDF that has everything listed out. And generally speaking, it's the last few versions of Python. Like, for example, you can see right here, it's 3.7, 3.8, and then always 2.7 until it really actually dies. The sun still not setting somehow. But so those are the most basic requirements, just having those, right? And in this case, you need MATLAB. The support started from 2014B. So although, here we're going to use PyEnv to see what, this is how we can check our connections, right? So we want to be able to talk to one another, so this is how we would do that. If you have a previous version, you might have seen PyVersion. So PyEnv, I think, was 2019. It was introduced. So this is definitely what we recommend going forward. It's much more powerful, but you can also use PyVersion. But this is where a lot of headaches come in. And again, this is the reason that we're going through all these sort of boring steps and everyone wants to see some cool TensorFlow thing or whatever, is that this is where we have all of the questions because, setups are so different. And I actually changed my setup, so hopefully I don't completely destroy this entire live stream by not being able to show you anything. But I wanted to just show you if you wanted to change your version. Let's say I actually should have waited for it to show up, but let's say I wanted to use 3.7 instead of 3.8. Oh no, what happened? So I definitely have it. Let me just check to see where it's installed. Oh my God, please don't look at this too closely. Maybe we can, no, it's so bad. It's
your
so
guide
bad.
goes through your mess. Oh my God.
Oh my God, don't look at that. It's so awful. I know. I do video. All right, good. Okay, so I'm running out of space on my machine, as you can see. But so I do have the, I have a couple of versions here on my Windows machine, and I have 3.7. I don't know why it didn't find it. So I could try to pass in the executable, the path to where that lives. That's an option. Let's see. No, it still doesn't work. And so this is where I need to do some system stuff. Environment variable. And so there's obviously you can use, like I constantly love to use Linux and Mac, but the setup on those are pretty straightforward, I think. At least maybe that's not true for me, or at least they are for me. Because you would just go to your wherever you do things like bash rc or the files that run on your system startup. And so it's pretty straightforward, also pretty straightforward in Windows too. Just go to this dialog, and you have your path and Python path, and then your excuse me, system path is down here. So this is where you want to check to make sure everything can talk to one another. So in general too, just because I think it's helpful if you're new to all of this stuff and not just kind of copy paste, or what this is doing is whenever you open up a command window or something in any program or just at the command line, you can just call Python or you can just call MATLAB, so that all of these things are available to the system to just call it. So I can add one. I know this is like really boring. And see, we don't have to go through this entire thing, but this is basically where you would go first to see. And then same with Python path, you can set that here. It's, also something you can do from the command window. Oops, that's not what I want to do. But this is basically where you would start to, go through this process. And I think we mentioned this in other presentations where it was like, oh, just make sure you go to the, everything's on the path and the environment settings. And, people are like, what does this mean? Like, why am I doing this? But basically that's so that they can talk to one another. Let's see if this works. I didn't put it on the but I don't want to take up that much more time to do this. I guess I should just complete it so we all know that I can do it. But anyway, I think also while we're talking about this, Yann, do you want to jump in? I know you use Anaconda quite a lot. Do you have any tips or anything? People always ask if there's anything special about Anaconda. Do you want to comment on that while I find things?
Yeah, for sure. So indeed, you can use different distributions of Python. Well, I use Anaconda like a lot of people in the industry, and because it's coming prepackaged with a bunch of data science tool, so it's very convenient. I also tend to download my own versions of Python on the side, and so I end up switching between the different environment that I'm using. So the way I would do it is exactly what you're describing here. I would go to my environment variable and I would essentially set the order so that the first version of Python that is found on my machine would be the one that I want to link with MATLAB.
Yes, good. Thank you for reminding me that 3.7 is not the one that I want, especially now.
You can just
just move it right.
Modify this, and so that. That's what I do if I have an Anaconda version. I just go to the location on my machine where it's installed, just exactly what you did. So
awesome.
Nothing
special. Right. Good. Okay, good. I was like, I thought so, but oh man, I probably have to restart my.
You've messed up your environment so much.
No, I probably need to make my own. Really, actually, I don't know if it's true in Windows. Sorry, everyone, but I think you have to restart your system. I don't know, but I probably should at least restart MATLAB. But either way, you understand. I don't want to spend the rest of the stream like just with this headache. But just so you understand, I would now restart, and then I imagine it would work. I will put in the comments later if assuming it does. And so the other thing, that was basically the system path so that the system can talk to one another, right? So you also want to make sure, like just like you always do in MATLAB or in Python, that your code is on the path, right? So if I want to call a module, obviously just like I am doing in MATLAB, oh, that's not it. I need to make sure all of my directories, all this stuff is on the path, and then also the Python path too. So whatever you're calling, either direction. So just, oh, that's not the right one either. So there is some code. This is also in the repo for you to see, but it's basically just right here. This, system path thing. So it's basically the same thing that you do whenever you're doing this in MATLAB, whenever you're going through the path stuff. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's just one of those, things that people tend to, get kind of hung up on and maybe forget about. Yeah, Yann, do you want to take back over? I guess we can probably move on from here. We've spent a fair amount of time watching me fail at my system setup and my dark secrets in my operating system.
It's good because you're teeing up all of the motivation for me to share with you just afterwards how you can simply call Python from MATLAB Online. And that's really cool because essentially all of the trouble you're going through is just disappearing. So I think we'll take just I think we're probably going to take a minute or two to show this as well. Do you want me to show you that right now?
Yeah. Why don't you call a couple things too, and we can talk through that while you're at it.
Of course. So I'm going to share my complete screen. What you will see is here. If you go to mathworks.com, then you'll see an hosted version of MATLAB. It's pretty convenient because it means that you don't have to worry about anything locally on your machine. Here you have a complete environment that is exactly like your familiar MATLAB.
And even the MATLAB drive, I was going to mention the repo that I was showing is also in MATLAB drive. So I can just get right there. So it's really convenient.
Exactly. I think I shared this one with you, actually. So you can see that there's a feature to share with your colleagues. I can go to matworks.com, and you will see you need to sign in with your MATWORKS account, and you'll see here all of the list of the very same kind of things that you see here that is available over here. Like this. So here I can share with you this repository. It's very easy, it's just like any type of sharing capabilities you would find in other services. All right. So what I wanted to share with you is the fact that, so in order to access here Python, you just need to, in here, boom, you have the Python environment that is pre-set up for you. So there might be a different for you, right? As if you do that, I think you would end up with a version 2.7 and not the version 3.8. So I think I'm just going to take one moment to show you how you can change that on MATLAB Online, because you've shown that on Windows, but here, essentially, since MATLAB Online is running on Linux, there's a slight difference. So we'll end up looking for the executable in here, which you can see that, if I go there and ask for bin/Python, what I'll end up with is Python 2.7. So this is the by default version that is shipped with the Ubuntu or whatever. I think it's a Debian version of Linux that is packaged under MATLAB Online.
I think it's not supposed to ship anymore by default. I don't know. That's what I heard. I forget when it was happening. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. It's very exciting.
Either way, this is just a very quick manipulation operation that you can do on your end. You can just type in, by env and Python 3, and then you'll find the version 3.8. So then you can do whatever you want from from within this repository that we've shared with you. I'll share in a couple of minutes the access key that enables you to run those different commands. You can open MATLAB live script, like Heather will show you in a couple of minutes. You can run all of those commands. It's just going to execute them directly, finding the right version of Python that's directly, you see, no problem.
Awesome.
And here, I'm just going to show you that. So the API key is here. Boom, I'm making a call and I get the response. So I'll let you show in more detail just now, Heather, on how you can use all of those tricks. But I just wanted to take a minute after all of the trouble you've gone through for some of the people that are listening to us. If you want to use MATLAB Online, yeah, I'd say go for it.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, that's relatively new. Also, like they just updated the version recently.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. I have a few questions for you, Heather. It's related to all of the different steps that one can take in order to access, first of all, Python standard library. So I've shown an example, I think, with the square root in the square root function in the math library just now, but maybe you can take some time to explain how it works. To call some user-defined function and module. I've just shown just before how to call a function that I had developed is calling the weather forecasting service, so that it's a user-defined function, and how to reload it and so on. Maybe we can go afterwards in more of those questions.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of times, and we have the demo, so I won't spend too much time on. We have other videos we can link to you and things. I won't spend too much time just going through the how to, but I do want to talk about like some of the like thoughts around it. I can show it's just pi dot this dot that, but sometimes there are a lot of questions around like what's actually happening, right? So let me actually, I guess I'll just share my screen again.
Yeah, that'd be best.
And we can, geez, get out of this world. Let me clean all this up. And let me get back to making sure I can at least talk to, okay, I can talk to 3D8, right? So Yann showed, just, we'll just show it again just for lack of creativity, just the square root, right? So it's just the library and then the name of the module. And so the things that people will have questions about is, what happens if I want to call this again? Maybe I want to take another math function. It's very reasonable. The next time you call pi.math, it doesn't import it all over again. And so that also can be challenging if you're working on something on your own, because you're calling this stuff the exact same way. So I'll show the user-defined module that Yann was talking about, just the weather module again for you may have seen this example before, but it's familiar enough, I guess. So whenever we're calling just our user-defined module, let's say I was working on it and I'm updating it right away. Of course, I like losing my mind here. So let's say we're updating it. What do we do if we want to update it here? So you just reload it. I just wanted to show that really quickly. This is also in the repo, but basically you just clear the classes. So that's it's a Python object that is returned. So you want to just get, that was my cat. You just want to get rid of all that, and then you can import it and then reload it. So that's it's basically the reload process in Python, but you want to make sure that you do that so it's getting the most current updated version. You don't have to like restart MATLAB or anything like that. So the other thing, I guess, I think we plan to talk on a little bit more detail about the data types, because that was the thing. We've gone through the syntax a million times and all this demo and stuff, but the data types are what will present questions. When it's simple, when it's a scalar, it should just convert automatically. Other times it doesn't. So we have the links to the documentation. I think we actually have that even in the description because it's just such a common question. It has the list exactly. But so I wanted to talk about some of the more complicated ones. This is it's easy enough to I guess look back at some of the other videos and see how you can just convert it directly. Again, this is a dictionary, so it's mixed data, and that is appropriate for a struct or a cell in MATLAB. So you convert that first, but then there's data inside of it still. We can convert that too, no problem. So what happens, like that's still a scalar case. We want to talk a little bit about other data types. These are the more complicated ones that people will trip up on, I think. I mean, at least I know Yann and I have had many chats like, wait a second, is this cell array thing? Do I have to use self-fun? Why is it so fun? That kind of stuff. Cell array is not, or self-fun is not that fun. It's kind of fun.
Oh no, it has nothing to do with fun. Trust me.
So to explain, we'll get there in a second. So this part is taking the forecast, or is finding the forecast. So this is an array of 10 days of data, and so it's bringing back lists. Also, those can also be heterogeneous or mixed data, right? So if you think about what language you're in at the time, you can consider what data types might be most appropriate. You can also quickly, this is just sort of, it's not really a cheat, I guess, but you can just do something like this where you can see what the methods or the functions that you can use directly on this object. And so that'll give you a hint of what data types you can convert to. So, cell, char, you would see those here. And then you also notice the default, Python methods on those as well. So you can get a sense of what you're able to do, I guess. But then you also can index into things, right? So if I wanted to do something like this, I can index right in and get it back. So I don't necessarily always have to convert. That's a lot of questions that people will have, like, oh, these conversions take a lot of time. When do I do it? How do I do it? And sometimes you don't even have to. You could just try to get it out directly, if depending on what you're doing. So those are some of the tips. We often get questions. I think this is similar. We show a dictionary and with lists because it's also very similar to what you would see with a data frame with NumPy arrays, those kinds of things. You can index, you can convert. I think what was the other question? Yeah, I think that was all the questions that you asked me. Yeah, we talked about reloading.
Reloading
also.
is probably the next step. Like if you were to make a change to your get forecast function,
Yep.
or the parse forecast, maybe you want to end the Python variable to MATLAB in a different format, or maybe you'll end up having those two files open at the same time. You make a change. So what's happening then?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, you made it a function.
Reloader. It's a function. I shared it with everybody too. It's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so we will do it. I don't want to take too much more time, but I think this was most of what we wanted to talk about.
An idea from Dave Garrison, our colleague. He said maybe you can change the output format of this list that you just got from the parse JSON to output a float, because apparently, so in the list here, if you output the format of every, I don't know if it's this one.
It must be
not the forecast, the current weather.
Okay. All right. Either way, sorry. Well, but anyways, I think I did mention it quickly, but this is basically we would clear our module and then reload. So no, I don't. I just looked at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend all this time just like going back and forth, just to make sure we're answering questions. Did you see any questions about any of this in the chat before we move on to?
We have some comments about the dark mode. So it's because we were on the 4th of May, just a couple of days ago. So I guess everyone is in the dark mode right now.
There, fine.
Ooh,
there you go. Dark mode.
Yeah, it's it's
that's we all hear a lot. It's great though. I mean, these are the things that we need to take back. Like, Yann and I work closely with development teams, and we tell them what to do, and they don't listen to us. Just kidding. But this is important feedback. We love it whenever you tell us what you want, and we can help. That helps us prioritize and helps the development teams, figure out what we want. And don't be, surprised if we get back to you with usability testing and all those kinds of fun stuff. We like to do all this together.
That's great. The price to pay. If you have good ideas, then we will test them on you. We'll regret that you've given all those good ideas. No, but that's a joke. Obviously, we want some of your inputs. I have a question, a basic one from Andreas, who's asking, is the MATLAB drive folder linked to a local folder, or is this just online? So yeah, maybe you can show on your machine or like just
Yeah,
answer
sure.
one.
Yeah, it's actually I think you have some options of how you want to set it up. But it's well, actually it's right beside Dropbox. But you can see it's just right. It's also just mapped to my machine, and I also have it mapped to my I pointed there because that's my Linux machine. But I also have it mapped to my Linux machine, and so they're all synced. There's even like a little notify thing, they all up to date, that you can use. So yeah, you have some options though if you wanted to not do that.
Yeah, it's very basic drive stuff. So not a lot,
Yeah.
not a lot of questions so far. So I'd say let's move on to continue answering some of. We had some more specific about TensorFlow. Do you feel like you want to go down there?
Yeah, sure. Why not? We have, let's see.
Oh, this is more about debugging, but here you can
that
put
was
all of the TensorFlow data exchange with pandas through the what is it called? The parquet file, stuff like that. I think that'd be good if you can touch on that.
Yeah, sure. I keep going on the wrong screen. I do have an example, but maybe it's just with given the time, I think yeah, here to just show this quickly. Parquet is, since I was talking about the data stuff, depending on what you're doing, you can always use Parquet, which uses arrow in the background. And so what's special about that too is that it's very memory efficient in the back end, so that you can, it doesn't have to make copies of itself whenever you're working on it from the different languages. So it's super helpful with big data and whenever you're kind of collabing on, those kinds of things with, a data lake or whatever. And so here's a couple of examples. We can share all of this stuff with you too. I might even pop one in the repo just for an example of this, because it also comes up too. I mentioned quickly with like NumPy and other kinds of data types in different packages that are super useful. It's a very similar workflow to what we showed with the dictionaries, so no problem. And then we'll talk a bit about the TensorFlow, Keras models, PyTorch. Actually, I guess I can show this just for if other questions come up, we can
sure.
show it live. But basically, you go to this link. It has all of the different models that you can select. The packages are basically in the add-ons explorer. So you can, even if you try to call it, it'll show up with a link that you can just, get it no problem. And then you can call it pretty easily. So this is basically if you have the Keras, you can either call import the network, or you can import the layers themselves. So this is showing importing the network. It basically looks like any other network that you would see in MATLAB. So no problem whatsoever, once you get it in there. This is also just showing how to use the network analyzer. So a lot of people will, I guess they use MATLAB a lot for the apps and the visualizations, especially when it comes to the networks, because they're graphs. We do that, and also you can drag and drop the layer organizations and things like that. And so it's just showing some examples of how to do that. But also, so again, I mentioned this is showing how to import the network, but you also could import layer by layer if that is more appropriate for your application. And so the other thing too is people will maybe one of the layers don't work in MATLAB, or it's not there, it doesn't exist in MATLAB. If that's the case, if you get a warning or an error about that, there's a custom layer creator. So I definitely won't go into all this. We're going to come back for sure. I think given the amount of questions that we get about it, we'll come back and do another stream on this. But I think it's really important to just highlight there is a way to get around that. No problem. You can go to the method of just adjusting it or creating it in MATLAB. And also, this is another thing that we like to hear feedback on. We want to hear what you're working on. That's all on GitHub, so you can go to the repos, you can put in requests or whatever you want. Just let us know. I think it's great time to really get involved. And like Yann was saying in the beginning, we're really invested in open source and sharing and learning from one another. So yeah, we really appreciate all these comments and questions. So I guess let's see. I guess we could talk a little bit about this, since I think troubleshooting is pretty much the we've showed how to do it kind of nice, except I didn't succeed at my environment settings. But we showed the nice way.
That's the normal way of going about it. It's like you fail all the time. That's normal. That's real life.
I really questioned why I would do this live in front of all of like YouTube. But here we are. So just a quick, exactly, absolutely. I guess the debugging thing was back here.
Before here, how to handle and debug. I think it's a very good one to address.
Definitely. And so I think, well, we already saw some of them, like, can't find it. That's, excuse me, the install and the path kind of thing.
Who wrote that? It's my silly line, right? Very basic. MATLAB cannot find it. Yeah, because it's not installed there.
It's like,
sorry,
is it plugged in?
I'm gonna remove that.
Did you plug it in? Is it even there?
Can you plug your computer? Can you turn it on? Sorry.
No, it's common. I mean, that's a very common one.
And that's why I like MATLAB Online again. Woo! It's already installed.
It's already there. But yeah, just kind of going through what we just talked about, just kind of stepping through. And again, there's lots of great info in the doc. You also can handle exceptions. So this is really great, especially, I mean, it might even motivate you to use MATLAB exceptions in general, not even when you're using Python. But whenever it errors, it throws both errors from both languages, right? So you'll be able to see it, and I can go back to the code in just a sec, but you'll be able to see it just as Python error or MATLAB error if you're in the other direction. And so you can actually capture the Python exceptions in MATLAB too. So you can inspect those more. And of course, if you're making a more sophisticated code base, you can do things with it. So this is a really great way to kind of take that next step into exception handling, and even just for yourself to figure out what's going on. And then Yann, I know you use you use it in Visual Studio a bunch. Do you want to talk about how you do that, or how useful you find it? Yes.
Oh, it's a question for me.
Yeah. Sorry, Yann. Hey, help.
Damn. So I'm not a big fan of Visual Studio, to be honest. I'm more like a Visual Studio Code user. I can point to the link. You want me to share the link of the Stack Overflow?
Yep.
I'm gonna do that.
This is probably true for most. Like I think Visual Studio, like a lot of the IDEs that you use, you should be able to debug similarly as you would in MATLAB, as you would in Python. So we would encourage you to just try it. Also, I'll talk about it tomorrow, trying to debug and going back and forth, and I'll even show them side by side, because you can use a lot of the debug capabilities in MATLAB for that too. So this is just more, I mean, I think every IDE has its own flavor of how you manage this, but definitely look at, also you can ask on MATLAB answers too. So a lot of people will have, gone through this same process for your specific IDE. So
we have a funny question from a guy. Garrison Robbie is like, be honest, do you guys use Mathematica on the side? I'll let you answer to that.
I haven't used Mathematica in a long time. But yeah, I would if I needed it. I've been really done much symbolic things, I guess. And my friends work for the symbolic toolbox, so
see, you cannot betray your friends.
I can't. I know it's no, it's great. Every once in a while, I would use the online one, just quickly, but. But yeah, it's great. Hey, we like all sorts of software around here.
I remember it was during my studies, I actually started numerical computing, tech computing with Mathematica, and that was interesting. I mean, I haven't touched it since then. It was more of a academic edu stuff for me. But yeah, well, if it's yours.
Good stuff. So I think Do we have any other questions? I think we should pretty much just wrap it up. I'll just go back to the intro slide while we see what other questions we might have.
Yeah, well, we just have a comment from Andreas, who seems to be all in for the VS Code for MATLAB plus Python. That sounds good. So
Awesome.
I'm happy to see that
Good.
some other people are using the same configuration as I am.
Yeah, I was wondering what we should use tomorrow because we're going to be in Python a lot. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I jump around. I use PyCharm. I use Jupyter, Visual Studio. I use all sorts of stuff. So maybe that'll sway us.
I'll stick with VS Code if you want me to share some stuff tomorrow. But then if you want to use Jupyter notebooks or whatever, that'd be good also.
Yeah, but I think it's really nice to, just mention, you can use whatever you want. We're not, there's also just kind of in the spirit of closing things out, there's not, there is a list of like limitations in the doc. They're sort of same limitations that you would find whenever you're interfacing other languages, like system kinds of things that might get weird. And then, different data types. But generally speaking, there's no real like applied limit on whatever you can use. You can use any library, anything. We also should mention the execution mode in PyEnv. So if you do run into trouble with some specific library, out of process execution mode is one way to kind of work around that. Sometimes there's just library conflicts in the back end, but there's no real restrictions or implied or imposed limitations. So go for it. See,
we have a question from the philosophical gamer 256. Cool name, by the way. Hi everyone, I'm wondering how to build an Android app with MATLAB. Do you know some pointers to maybe some cool resources for that?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. There's actually, I can put some in the comment afterwards. But we even did a live stream, I think it was about a year ago, with a Halloween costume. So I made a dinosaur costume and it lit up, and I was showing how to use MATLAB with Arduino, and so that's a good one. And then there's a bunch of stuff in the documentation and a lot of really fun examples in the MATLAB, MATLAB Central on GitHub and stuff. So definitely check that out. Even in the doc, I think there are a couple of really good ones.
And I think we also have a MATLAB app for Android where you can just capture all of the streams from your sensors, right? Like your accelerometer and stuff like that. You can directly stream them into MATLAB. That's pretty convenient if you want to develop an application that's using some real life sensors data.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm getting my weather, it's like a home from Adafruit, the home thing. So I'm gonna be like,
cool.
So maybe I'll do a demo with that and use MATLAB.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the cheer lights and all that stuff, I mess around with that stuff all the time. So, but yeah, that could be another one we come back with, even just kind of combining all sorts of different code on a device. All right. Anything else? This seems good. Seems like some good questions, and hopefully we've addressed some things that people have been, wondering about as we've been doing the demo this week.
Yeah, I see no further questions from the audience. It's a quiet one today.
All right, that's all right. Take it all in. That's all right. So, and also, if you think of questions as you're trying things out, feel free to put them in the comments, or we have our social media stuff here. So feel free to reach out, anytime, and we can help you out.
Nenda is asking if there's a connection between MATLAB and Tableau. Do you know about anything like this?
Yep. Yeah, it's in the deployment area. Maybe we can. Yeah. Let's see. I'll just type it here. Here it is. Oh, it's a video, but yeah, it's in the deployment area. So it's really, really quite nice. I think Gabriel did a couple of nice videos on that. So, hey, there we are. So yeah, that's a really common one too, especially, people wanting to visualize their, MATLAB stuff in Tableau.
Pretty cool. Awesome. Gonna paste. There's even a reference architecture. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I should have mentioned there's so many reference architectures. We'll talk more about this tomorrow whenever we talk about deployment. But that's one place to go whenever you're getting set up with different systems. Even like I've contributed to the Parquet one, or the Kafka one, and well, the Parquet one's on there too. But so you can, even cloud setups and stuff, everything is on there. It's just all on GitHub, so you can do that, and it's fairly straightforward, really, if I could do it. Especially IT on Windows.
Yeah.
I know I almost like switched over, but I was like scared that it was gonna like cut out everything. So anyways, yeah, I guess we should just end here, and we'll follow back up tomorrow. Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back tomorrow playing more with MATLAB and Python, and we'll be calling MATLAB models from Python, or MATLAB code from Python. Thank you so much for watching. And thanks, Yann. It was awesome as usual, hanging out and talking about our favorite languages.
Thank you, Eza. And thank you, everyone. And see you tomorrow, same time.